Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Moscow Board of Adjustments for October 3rd, 2017. With that, let's approve or discuss approval of minutes from August 29th. And it was a super short, fast meeting. Went through the minutes. I thought it was an agenda, but it was actually the meeting minutes. I didn't even see a Scribner. Anybody have any comments, or do I have a motion?
A motion, we accept the minute.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
I was not here. I wasn't here either. Abstained.
That's what I thought. So the motion passes. 3 ayes, no nays, and 2 abstentions. All right, and with that, we will get to the topic for tonight's meeting. Ryan, you want to tell us about it?
All right, Mr. Chair, Board of Adjustment members, thank you for joining us tonight. So tonight we have the conditional use application for a detached garage not to exceed 1,500 square feet at 1309 Salonica Drive. The proposal is that the applicant has applied for a conditional use permit to build a detached 1,488 square foot garage located in a low-density single-family residential R1 zoning district. It is a conditional permitted use within the R1 zone. Attached or detached private garages and workshops not to exceed 1,500 square feet, according to Moscow City Code 4-2-5, Delta 13. So the proposed detached garage, the dimensions are going to be 30 feet wide, 48 feet deep by 24 feet high from base of grade to the peak of the roof. It'll have a proposal of 10-foot setback from the side property line and 20-foot setback from the rear property line. And some of the architectural features include lap siding, decorative garage doors, and a 6-to-12 pitch roof to match existing architectural facade. The existing residence and proposed detached garage sit on a 1-acre lot. So here we have the overall site plan of the subject property. This is at a quite a long scale to give you the scope of work. The boundary indicated in purple is actually the city limits, and the area is highlighted in red at the tip of the subject property arrow. So the surrounding land use is primarily residential to the south and southwest. There's farmland to the north and to the east in the area of city impact. And Peekaboo Estates is being developed 2 lots to the south along Lanny Lane. So going in a little bit more detail on our zoning, you can see the city limits that separate the southwest to the northeast. Within the city limits, you can see that there's primarily R1 low-density family residential to the southeast, with some farm ranch zone property directly down the hill from the subject property. And there's also ag forest zoning in the ACI, or area of city impact. And according to the comprehensive plan, Chapter 2, Land Use and Community Character, designates the subject property as an auto-urban residential. And it states further the auto-urban residential designation includes the convention and more recently developed subdivisions with lots ranging from 6,000 to 9,000 square feet where there are no alleys. These designated areas are generally anticipated to be developed for low to moderate density residential uses at densities between 3 to 7 units per acre, which include a mix of detached single family. And again, Chapter 3, Community Mobility, identifies Lanny Lane as a collector and Salonica Drive as a local neighborhood street. So zooming into the subject property, we get a closer look and a bird's eye view of the property. You can see the existing house to the northwest of the subject property, the paved drive, and then the proposed land to the southwest of the subject property. So the total acreage of the parcels, that we go into square feet actually, 44,551 square feet. The total garage floor space for the proposed use is 1,488 square feet. And the home footprint, as a primary structure, is 4,100 square feet. This also includes 300 linear feet of frontage along Salonica Drive. And the local streets and accesses along Salonica is a 60-foot right-of-way, 34-foot wide street with 4-foot wide sidewalks and 8 feet of tree lawn. Again, here's part of the proposed site plan that was included in your packets. You can see the existing house and attached garage, and then the detached garage to the south with the appropriate setbacks annotated. Here you see a digital elevation of the proposed use. As you can see, there are some elements that are used to propose, at least in the application anyway, to help it blend in with the local and surrounding architectural style. And the elevations provided by the design professional. Other considerations, garages and workshops up to 1,000 square feet in size are allowed by right within the R1 zone. And a little bit of back history on the site. On August 21st, 2007, the property owner was granted a variance from the Board of Adjustment for a 1,291 square foot garage that was attached to the principal dwelling. At the time, the ordinance, which we had modified on October 21st, 2013, amended the R1 zone to permit garages and workshops up to 1,500 square feet in size as a conditionally permitted use. Prior to that, it was usually applied for through a variance through the Board of Adjustments. Staff's recommendation on the conditional use: we recommend the approval of the conditional use permit at 1309 Slonaker Drive for the 1,488 square foot garage with no conditions. Pending your questions, I'd be more than happy to answer anything.
I have a couple, Joe.
Sure.
What is the Ryan? What's the minimum lot size in R1 district?
The minimum lot size in R1 is 12,000 square feet.
And this is 44,000 square feet. Is it a single lot or is it multiple lots?
It is a single lot.
And the 10-foot setback, is that the same setback that you'd have for a house if around the parcel?
Correct. Because the size of the footprint and the height of the garage exceeds 14 feet, we are using the primary structure setbacks rather than the accessory structure setbacks. So instead of having it 5 feet from the back, we require it to be 20 feet from the rear property line and 10 feet to the north of the southern property line.
And then what was the requirements 2007 when a variance was granted?
Mm-hmm.
Which is sort of surprising that a variance would have been granted for a garage, but that notwithstanding, what was the limitation? Why was a variance required?
The variance, the requirement for variances was established for any garage exceeding 1,000 square foot. And with the revision to the code, the intent was the fact that between 2000 and 2013, there was so many applications for garages ranging greater than 1,000 square feet to the maximum of 1,500. In fact, there was 8 separate cases of variances that were approved during that period. So community development realized that there was a need in certain requirements for the variance to be modified to be allowed to be a conditional use permit rather than a variance. So it's the evolution of code.
Okay, I mean, I'm fine with that. I should note that none of those should have been granted, but that's an aside. That's a side note. So now the code allows for up to 1,500 square feet in attached or detached garages?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
With the approval of conditional use permit.
That's all I have.
Anybody else have questions for city staff?
Oh, I did have one more question.
Sure.
Will you go back to the aerial photo, please? Do we have? Do you know when that photo was taken?
The imagery that we get from the GIS department over at the Latah County repository includes 2012 imagery.
Do you have any idea? You didn't go out, obviously, and take site photos, but I'm just wondering what the nature or the height or status of that landscape buffer is between the two properties. Do you have any idea?
The nature and the
Between the, you see, there's a on current maps show it as being slightly larger and longer than that, but I was just wondering what it looks like. Is all.
Got you.
The landscape buffer that would be between it and the house to the south.
we do not have any on-site imagery from that site.
Okay.
Well, they might be able to answer it if you can't, but the picture or the image along that red site buffer line, are those trees or bushes? Do you know?
I believe that's a row of arborvitae bushes.
Okay, we'll clarify that when everyone has a chance to come up.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
With that presentation, we'll open it up for the public to speak. Would the applicants care to come up and tell us why you're asking for this? Please state your name and address in the microphone for the record.
Hi, my name is Joe May, and my address right now is the Latah County Fair. I'm living in my motorhome over there, so tomorrow I take possession of the property, or it transfers over to my name. So it will be 1309 Sloniker in about another 2 weeks.
So were you not the owner of the property at the time that the garage variance was granted?
That's correct. We have the approval of the owner, which is here tonight, and and we went ahead and we signed a paper, and he signed that it's all right to start this process. I'm trying to beat the weather is what I'm trying to do. I'd like to get things under cover before, since I'm not used to these winters.
And so the primary purpose is storage of an RV?
Yes. I have a motorhome, and I have an antique car also, and I just like to get them out of the weather and, that kind of thing.
Okay. Since we have such a small crowd, I'm just going to ask this point blank, because I think
Okay.
we have 7 criteria that we have to
Yes.
apply. And all of them seem to apply to me. The only one that could potentially be a concern, and I don't see a lot of people here, and it may or may not come to pass, but the only potential for a nuisance is if it's used as a shop.
That's correct.
Then there would be loud noises, and in looking at the map, it's really close to your neighbor on the south. So that would, can you just address that
Okay.
potential concern for me?
I'm going to address one other thing was brought up already. The setback that Mr. Long was after was, he was concerned about that 10-foot. If my new plans, out of consideration of my neighbor, those are moved back to 20 feet. So on the side, I'm going back to 20 feet. And
From the rear and the
no,
and
the
the
side.
south?
The side.
From the south.
Side?
Yeah,
Which
from
is
the
the
south
south
side.
border, right? Okay. And can you clarify for us from the aerial photograph, is there any kind of landscape buffer between your yards at this point?
Yeah,
Or is it open?
my neighbor here is here, and he has their like cypress bushes or.
We have arborvitaes that are leaves 12 feet,
Okay.
and it's a solid wall.
So what Ryan was saying was accurate. Do you plan to have any machinery in that?
I'm kind of a jack of all trades, and I dabble in a little bit of everything. And most of my work will be done in the shop next to the house. But if I'm doing maintenance on my vehicle or something like that in the garage, I can tear things apart and leave it laying there until I get back to it and put it back appropriately and stuff like that. So I won't lie and say there'll be none, but there will be some maintenance in there. But I don't do it late at night. And if I get a problem with it, I'm sure Mike will tell me about it, and we'll take care of it.
Anybody else have questions for Mr. May?
Just a point of clarification, so then the setbacks, it'll be a 20-foot and a 20-foot?
20 foot and
Okay,
20
so
foot.
you're moving
yes.
it from the 10 feet from the south?
Yes.
To 20 feet, okay.
It just gets it too close. I didn't want it that close either, so, trying to be a good neighbor here. I don't want to be the guy that comes in and rocks the boat, but I do need the facility to, to get my motorhome out of the, I have a considerable value in it, and I don't want the weather destroying it, so. And the whole meaning of the, I could build a garage just for the motorhome, but then you don't have room to maintain it or anything else. And so that's why it's the size that it is, so I can also work on my antique cars there and leave them over by themselves so they're not destroyed. And let's see, I want to thank the board here for giving up their evening to, their soccer games and stuff to
Fair enough. Didn't have one.
to be here and, provide your public service. And, I'm asking permission for, because I'm moving into a neighborhood that is, everybody there seems to be, proud of their homes and maintains them really well, and I want to do the same thing, and I want to build this garage also to keep my junk out from eyesore for everybody else. So that's why I want to put it in the garage and stuff like that. And the garage will be designed, and like the drawings indicated, it will be designed to match the house and blend in with the neighborhood. And there's only, from where it sits on the lot, we moved it over in that corner. We moved it over in that corner specifically to make it less intrusive in the area. And where it sits, Mike has a good brush on that side, and there's really only two neighbors that'll really see it. And the guy across the street, which isn't here tonight, but he's indicated there's no problem with it. And then Mike is my neighbor next door, and we've talked, and and he's given his blessing on it also. And he's the only, but his bushes, I think, from his yard, when I was over the other day, that from his yard, if you look up, he may see the peak of it from his yard. Have you indicated anything different than that, Mike?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm looking at the arborvitaes are about 12. Obviously from the upstairs, we can see.
Yeah, from the upstairs, yeah. You have one window on the end of your peak that you can see out of, yeah. So other than that,
Yeah, I was getting to that. When Mr. May's done, I would like you to come up and state your name and address for the record, just so that the comments that you say out there we can hear, but they're not part of the record. So, but we're being mellow enough that there's only 5 of you out there. But I would like you to come up and state your name in the record when Mr. May's done.
And continue. My property is unique, obviously. It's it's a full acre in an area that's not, and I thank Alan for that. But anyway, this property was put together as a double lot, and it was initially, he's told me that he initially planned to build a garage and shop out there, and so he just never got around to doing it. So I am. There are CC&Rs on this property, and it will meet all of the conditions of the CC&Rs. It meets all the requirements of the CC&Rs that are in effect, with the exception of their CC&Rs, but they're not enforced, and they're not. I probably wouldn't have to do half of them, but it will match the house and stuff like, and conform to the CC&Rs. And I stated I need the garage keep my vehicles out of the weather and eliminate the eyesore for the neighborhood, because I wouldn't want to look at them either. And with that, I think with all the requirements that I've read, that this meets the requirements of the conditional use permit, and I look forward to a positive conclusion of this hearing. And if anybody else has any questions, other than that, I'm done.
Anybody else have any more questions? Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to welcome anybody else to come up and
Hi, I'm Mike Nealon. I own the property that's just south of this property, and so I would be the most impacted, I think, from the location of that building. And like I said earlier, in between the two pieces of property are about 12-foot arborvitaes, 10 to 12 footers, and I think based on the design, which I've seen. It looks like that's what, 24 feet tall? Okay.
That's what it's
yeah.
showing.
So we will see some of it, mostly the roof line, based on the height. So, and I like the idea that it's 20 feet instead of the minimum 10 feet from the property line. So I like the idea that they're making actually changes, making it look like the decor, because everybody in the neighborhood takes very good care of their property, and everything that's been added to it blends with their house design. So I'm okay with that, I think.
Thank you.
And does he need to state his address? Or okay.
What is your address? Oh, I'm sorry, 1215 Swaniker.
Anybody else care to make a statement?
I'm Andy Johansson. I live at 1212 Sloniker, which was undeveloped at the time that picture was taken, but I would be a diagonal. I live across from Mike on 1215.
To the east?
So I would be able to see a little bit of the corner of the building, it looks like, and that's about all. Most of it would be hidden by the maple tree out in front and the arborvitae. So we have no problem with the building as it's proposed.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
To look at the pictures. The phones.
I'm Alan Sloniker. I live at 1309 Sloniker Drive, the lot that Joe's buying from me. So I bought the 10 acres and developed it, and with in mind to build a shed there in the beginning. And so I wrote the covenants, and I did have the lot able to split into two in case my subdivision went bad and I couldn't afford to keep them both, basically. But it all turned out well. We got a really nice neighborhood. Neighbors get along well. And I think it's because we talk about things and we take care of things. And not everybody follows all the covenants, but Joe is trying to. He's trying to keep his RV indoors, which not everybody does, which is according to the covenants. So I appreciate the fact that he wants to take good care of it, and he's added something to the side of the building which will make it a lot more aesthetically pleasing in my mind. And, you know, that all adds extra expense, but he's willing to do it to make it look better. And I wish I was going to stay and be their neighbors because they're nice people. And we've actually made this deal on the house a long time ago. We're finally getting around to closing, but we've gotten to know them real well, and they've always been concerned from day one about, get along with the neighbors, fitting in, making their place nice. And so it's not like he's coming into town trying to change everything or anything like that. So I'm definitely in favor of letting him do what he wants to do, and I think it goes along with what the rules say. Thank you.
Thank you. Since that was all of our audience, I think it's safe to close the public hearing.
Well, there was one
Thank you.
one lady who didn't speak.
Oh, that's true.
You're certainly welcome to.
Fair enough. Well, with that, I will close the public hearing and allow the board to discuss this conditional use permit.
Joe, I'll start. I've got no problems with it.
No, I don't either. My only concern was what the neighbors would be concerned with, and it doesn't sound like there's a problem there. So I'm, and if it was 1,000 foot, which isn't, they wouldn't even be here. So it's just.
And the conditional use, it could actually be 12 square feet bigger without it becoming then a variance rather than a conditional use.
I think I remember being at the meeting, and the discussion was you could build 1,000-foot sheds all along your property and nobody could say a word, and it was ridiculous not to be able to put a larger size thing right there. That's why I appreciate what Jerry says about the variance shouldn't have been granted, but sometimes you do the right thing. So, which is exactly
Illegal.
Well, and to respond to that comment, Jerry,
we were there.
in terms of structure, by the time you get a 20-foot opening and you get 4-foot shear walls on either side, the car companies just build cars too long nowadays for that code thing, and so that's what generated several of those.
No,
But
I'm fine
that's
with
not
that.
why we're here.
No, but so I think it's important that the record in the RCS reflect the additional setback and the fact that it is almost 5 times the size of a minimum lot. So I think that argues in favor. But, and this is unrelated to this proposal, there's absolutely no way you can legally justify a variance for these. So it is a cautionary note.
We did.
You did, and so that was the last meeting that before I was appointed on the board. So I went back and looked to see how the board acted, and that's the one I saw. And we see the same thing, and this is a good example of not strictly complying with the variance rules come to back. I mean, in this case, they changed the code, and that's totally fine. So it's totally appropriate now, and that's the council's decision to make. But large lots never justify a variance. It's just not even remotely consistent with what a variance is. So we just should be aware of that. But this one I totally support. I have no problems with it, and the code has changed, and that's how it is. But as we direct Ryan to develop the RCS, those factors I think are important to identify and as ways that the applicant is mitigating potential effects of the larger size.
Annette, thoughts?
Is it necessary to change the 10 feet off the southern property line to 20 at this point, or do we just leave it up to the parties involved?
I'm actually open either way. It's almost self-imposed, and they all agree.
Well, you can't put it in the RCS if it's not going to actually happen as justification for
Right. So
for it.
So right now, the proposal shows 10 feet. The record states a willingness to do it. I don't know that if we condition that, if that would cause nay votes or yay votes, but
Can I ask Ryan a question?
sure.
So Ryan, the setback would normally be 5 feet, and then it's increased because of the increased height of the structure?
Correct. That's what disqualifies it as an accessory structure setback, and we have to go by the primary structure setback, which is 20 feet from the back of the face of building to the rear lot line, and then a minimum of 5 feet, combination of 10 feet from the side lot lines. So again, they could have gone as close as 5 by going 10. They're still within compliance because the north property line, which is considered their other side yard setback, is greater than 20 feet. So they're well within the required setbacks.
So it's irrelevant for us.
Oh, so this has nothing to do with the top plate being at 19. It's which setback they decide to use.
The top plate was 16 foot, and to qualify as an accessory structure, the top plate of a detached garage must be 14 feet or less.
So that, if it's not an accessory structure,
It's still classified as an accessory structure, but it has to conform to
Okay.
primary structure setbacks.
see, we're not running into a problem where we are authorizing two effectively home primary structures on the same lot. then.
No.
That's not, okay.
No, just the setback requirements.
So I think the answer to your question is no, we don't have
don't
to.
need to,
It
yes.
would be optional.
Although the
Depending on-
hearing is closed, we are allowed to ask for we can ask questions that have responses that are fact without reopening the public hearing. Is it okay if I ask the applicant?
Sure.
So this is just a yes or no question, which I assume if you say yes, it's just a factual response. Would you object to a condition that required 20 feet from the south property boundary? No. Okay. So,
If you go look at the stakes right now, they're already set at 20 feet.
okay.
And so for the record, since he wasn't at the podium, the answer was he's not opposed to that, and the stakes are actually already set at 20 feet.
So I move approval with the condition move approval of the application as submitted with this single condition that the setback be increased to 20 feet from the southern property boundary. All other things the same as proposed.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. So it passes, 5 ayes, 0 nays? Yeah, Mark was the second, yeah, correct.
And then Ryan, may I ask Ryan to develop
Yes,
RCS?
you may. I think you should just
Fine.
make that make that
Part of
a
the
motion?
So
You're going to move to have him prepare the RCS?
Yeah, I don't know if we have to move, I mean, do we have to, as a board, request that he do so? So move, did the board
Well-
request Ryan develop RCS consistent with our conversations today? If that's necessary, that's my motion. Unless other members of the board have additional requests of Ryan. I'm assuming Ryan, I already made suggestions to Ryan as part of the conversation.
Move that as a second motion, or are you making that?
I don't know if it's required as a second motion or not, but if it is, then this is,
I think we all agree. I'm okay with that. I'll second that. If it is a motion, I'll second it. But
okay. I did not make it as part of the first motion, and we already voted on that. So.
Yeah. So, please clarify what
Yes.
your motion
It's
is.
basically to direct Ryan to develop RCS consistent with the board's deliberation tonight.
Okay. And
I second that
Mark seconded.
wholeheartedly.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. There we go.
Are we coming back next week?
Yeah, we need to meet again.
So we need to come back next week just to approve
formally
the minutes.
it.
no, yeah, we were looking at expediting this because of the constricted schedule, but open public hearing laws require us to post 48 hours within the time frame of the previous hearing. So we'll likely have to shoot for next week. And Ann had some availability. It was on Wednesday, wasn't it, Ann?
It's the only day next week. And Wednesday.
We'd do it
Is it a-
5:30.
Is it a full 24 hours
48 hours.
or 48 hours? So we couldn't do it Thursday because it's, oh,
Can
can we do
we?
it Friday?
Friday?
I'll be in Boise all day.
I said I'll be gone, but can we do it in an alternate room, or do we need to do it?
I'm actually going to be having military obligations during that time. So if on Friday.
We could do Thursday.
I
But
totally.
that's less than 48 hours.
Yeah, if we, that was kind of the point of my question. If we did it Thursday, because I'm available Thursday and Friday night, I could.
Well, I mean, when
could
you say
do that.
48 hours, 48 hours from
But
when?
we could have a
Because
meeting that started at 7:30.
It's 7:30 right now, and back
So if
in.
we had a 5:30 meeting, it would have had to been posted by 5:30 today
Exactly.
for 48 hours.
Posted where? On the website?
On board downstairs.
Oh, on the bulletin board downstairs. You
Well,
could
I
actually
mean,
post
can we
and walk
do
downstairs.
it? Can we do it like at 8 o'clock? Sure.
As long as fair and affordable housing's done.
Well, and the reason I say that is I think this meeting is going to take all of about 10 minutes. Because really all we're doing is
I mean, 10 minutes for them to work a whole
Reviewing our
weekend.
minutes.
reviewing the minutes and doing it. And I know we used
and
to start
approving those seven
back in the
text of
day.
seven criteria.
Back in the day, we used to start these meetings at 7:30 anyway, so it wouldn't be. I mean, it would. I'm just thinking ahead because I know I'm out all next week.
We only need 3, just to remind
Yeah.
you. We only need 3 as long as it's unanimous.
Checking the names.
My concern is that next week, I don't know that I'm available any day next week.
I know I'm not.
So we should try to shoot for,
That's why I'm willing to do it
Thursday,
Friday
Friday.
or even late Thursday.
Yeah, I'm gone
Yeah.
Friday, but if we can do it Thursday evening, if we can post it, I mean, it's 7:35 right now, so an 8 p.m. meeting will last all of about. I'm jinxing us, but
Something scheduled in here until 8, but there's a room downstairs that we can see.
Yeah, what about it's like the mayor's conference room or something that's down? Could we meet in there? Or do we need to have public hearing for that type of meeting?
No, it's
Or
not
not
a
public
public
hearing,
hearing.
but recorded, that's what I meant to say.
over there.
Yeah, at the point of signing the RCS is considered a public meeting, so it doesn't necessarily have to be. It has to be transcribed on minutes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be videographed.
Videoed and recorded
Correct.
audio.
that would be great. 8 or 8:15 would be. Now that you're going to have 20 minutes to post this.
Keep talking about it.
Who's available Thursday night?
I'm available
I
Thursday.
can be here.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
That work. Do you do it then?
The reason we do this is we have to have a fixed date when we sign it, so that if there is an appeal, people know when it's been approved.
So that doesn't require a motion. We just are going to meet downstairs at 8 Thursday night.
Sounds good.
And will you send us an email or something to remind us of that, please? Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
I have a motion.
I would second that too.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.